All right. We
Awesome.
are live. Hi, everybody. I'll give you a second to tune in before we get started. Okay. All right. So hang on just a second. So I'm going to wait until some of our viewers pop on. They will here in just a minute. Okay, it looks like we are on now. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad that you made it here today. This is just another opportunity for us to connect and learn from each other. And we are very lucky to have James Evrard here. He is an architect. And something we learned during our chat just the other day is that he also has worked on our Sage Center. So it was a really happy coincidence that that worked out. So James, I'm going to let you take it away, but also don't forget, everybody, please ask questions, use the chat feature. I would love it if you would start by just introducing yourself. First names only, but please share who you are because we can't usually tell by your names. And as questions arise, just put them on the chat. All right. Thank you, James.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. How is everyone doing? Happy Thursday. It's almost Friday, so that's great, especially how nice it is. Good to go outside and have some fun. Hi, my name is James Evrard. I'm an architect. I'm a licensed architect. I am licensed in Missouri, Kansas, and Rhode Island. My name is James Evrard. I am an architect. I'm a licensed architect. I'm licensed in Missouri, Kansas, and I think we probably got a little feedback there. Are we still good, Ms. Torres?
Yes.
Okay.
We are back.
Awesome. So, as I said, I'm a licensed architect in multiple states. I'm originally from Kansas City. Grew up a little south of the city in town of Cleveland, Missouri, and went to school in Belton and graduated and went to school at University of Missouri, Kansas City, and Kansas State University for my Bachelor of Architecture. So that's a 5-year bachelor's degree. That's a professionally licensed degree that is in all fields of design and construction and building science. And I was able to graduate. And at the time, since I grew up here, I moved to Rhode Island to experience something new and work in a place I never ever been. And it was a great experience. And I've been back in Kansas City for about 5 years now, and just enjoying being home and working in my old backyard. So it's great. I've been a professional architect for about, since I graduated in 2007 from Kansas State University. And like I said, I've worked in New England. I got to do some projects in Chicago. A lot of my work now is in Kansas City. So I'm working on projects that range from brand new schools to renovations of existing schools, some justice facilities. I've worked on a small skyscraper that's being built on the plaza, and just a handful of different projects that are equally challenging and inspiring and just really fun to be creative and put stuff together and see how, the best design thinking can help influence how people learn, how people inhabit buildings and enjoy buildings. So, and as Ms. Torres said, I actually got to design and work on your Sage Center. And it was kind of fun because we designed that entire building to be a very creative, open environment, no walls, a lot of really cool finishes. And we got it all done. And then there was another project where we had to chop a hole in the middle of it and do that large educational stair. So it's kind of interesting how you spend all your time making this really cool little object, and then you got to go back through and cut a hole in it. And that's another challenge to figure out how to build the space, make it better, understand how people interact with the space, and then what you can do that's to be able to evolve something that is can change. So, and through that, like architectural process and design thinking, it's very fun and challenging at the same time that I get to do this every day. And I'm still, even with this pandemic we're all experiencing, I get to do it from my home. So I'm surrounded by creative objects and books and sketchbooks, and I'm still drawing by hand and trying to be as creative and productive as I can from home. So it's great. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I'm working on a few different things that it's going to be a little close to home for you guys that are a part of North Kansas City schools. And then, let's see. Okay, there we go. Can everybody see my screen? Awesome. So part of what I'm doing at North Kansas City is we are doing some stadium upgrades for Winnetonka. So what that entails is, so for the first time in the 50-plus year history of the school, we're actually adding a stadium component to the school. And then we're also doing a new sports pavilion. That's like a place to enter and have fun and kind of make the whole experience of the school a little more extended to the fields, because the stadiums never had, or the football fields never had a stadium, like a place to congregate and socialize. So I'll go through some of the drawings that we just put together. Let's see, get to a fun plan. Sorry for the lag time.
While you're pulling that up, could you share what software program you are using to create these?
Yes. So this is being created in Revit, Autodesk Revit 2020, and it's a 3D modeling software that we kind of use to develop all the creative aspects of the project, but also the nuts and bolts and kind of pieces. So you can see here that this is all in the model that the image I showed. So you get into the structure of it, how is it supported, various pieces of it like plumbing, wiring, infrastructure, all to help create these buildings that we are modeling virtually. So I still hand draw a lot, but ultimately those squiggly line drawings eventually translate to these very measured models. So this is just one of the pavilion buildings that we did. You can see some of the 3D views of it that are part of this model. So modeling the brick, custom signage, metal panels, looking at how people interact on the site, and how close we are with, like, the stadiums themselves. So that's something going on at Winnetonka. I'm also doing some fun projects that are a little similar at Oak Park, where we're doing also a new stadium bleacher section as well. But then we're doing some other pavilion buildings. So there's a home building and a visitors building, and these will help broaden the experience of the students and community alike to experience these projects. Because once again, Oak Park was designed with just the track and the football field, but no bleachers. So it's trying to enrich in the school through design and expand it as trying to figure out the legacy of where the school wants to go, but also provide really fun opportunities for students such as yourselves to take part in. Another fun project that we're doing is a whole brand new entry to Oak Park itself. So this is actually on the south side of the school, where the original entry is on the north. So with the way the school has functioned over the years, the majority of students and faculty all experience the south. So now we are actually trying to flip the whole thinking of the school on its end and kind of design and add to the back of the school and redefine its entry sequence. So a very new prominent entry. And if you're familiar with the other schools, Winnetonka itself actually just went through this process. So it's kind of a nice opportunity to be able to expand on a very historic school and then redefine how it works moving forward. So, and then let's see, I'm going to share another screen of what I'm working on. As I said, this was Autodesk Revit. So if everybody can see, this is the addition I just showed at Oak Park. So, and just to give you guys a little taste here, it's kind of crazy that we build all these things. You can see how big the model is. So, there you go. So I've modeled basically the entire existing school, and we have the topo model of the site itself all the way to Paseo, and then, or Truce, and then we have the pavilion building, the new press box on the stadium, and we have the South Pavilion that will be part of Gladstone Park. So you can see it's understanding and drawing, figuring out all these different projects located on a site and being able to interpret and figure out. So you can get all the way down to the detail of the people, the doors. You can see sinks in the model itself. So it's understanding all these components, how they work. And then the other fun thing you get to do is kind of break through them. Let's see. I'll go back. I'll go back, and then you draw these orthogonally and also digitally. Let's just go back so I don't lose my place. Here we go. So this is the entry edition that I'm working on. And you can see how all the bits and pieces of the project are displayed. Here we go. Sorry about that. But this is looking through the model of the entry. You can see sites, or the circulation of the stair, rooms beyond it. This project has a new weight room, so we're working on designing that and how that interacts with the school. Really fun to get all these parts and pieces in. So there's the face of the existing school itself. And being able to go through and understand how spaces work, how circulation works, design elements. So we have some really fun floor patterns happening on the ground, desk and chairs in a conference room. Let's see. Cutting further in, here's this very big two-story entry space here. So this new vestibule, and then getting into the lobby itself, and a classroom that overlooks it, or a conference room. And then we're also looking at other things like, you know, how the roof drains, where we put our mechanical equipment. The fun thing about this part of the school is it's part of a phase that will eventually expand to where we're going to add another floor to this, and we'll remove the existing tennis courts and do a performing arts center down the road. So it's kind of fun to just be able to, at a point in time, add on to a project and expand how that experience works, but then also set up the project for future additions as buildings, as you know, constantly evolve. The Sage building is relatively new. It's probably about under 5 years old. So that building is still being used and trying to understood how it works. And that project I did for the expansion, that was only within a couple years after it was built. So you can see how projects evolve.
That's so cool that you are showing us kind of the future of several buildings in our district. And cool that you guys get an inside sneak peek on those. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and ask Baja's question. How do you get inspired to do these things? She also wanted to know in a later question how you deal with like a block when you can't think of any new ideas.
Okay. So like, I guess like being inspired in general, like I think I've always been like a curious person. So I'm always trying to figure out things. Like I used to take apart my toys when I was a kid, usually right after I got them. So figuring out how things work. I think through that process, I get inspired through the process that there's a way that you can solve projects and problems. So understanding like the creative solution of this. So, right now I have an existing building. We have to go somewhere. Logically, there's only a few places to go. And you kind of go through a process of elimination to understand, okay, you have these variables. It needs to be this big and this small, or this wide and this tall, that those limitations help you be creative and kind of get excited to be able to figure it out. And like I look at a lot of things. Like I love drawing, I love sketching, I love drawing crazy shapes and odd problems. Just understand, like being kind of like, I like my artistic side that I draw. I doodle a lot. And with that, I kind of understand, I try and understand, the more I can figure out how things go together, the better I'll be. So I think that goes with her second question of, when you hit a roadblock, you kind of need to be able to like step back. And since I've been going through a process with this, it's I have a roadmap that I can look back on and see, what worked, what didn't work. How is it, what can I do to make it better? And usually I kind of go back into my own little world of like, okay, James, you did this before. This is why it didn't work. What can make it work now? So through, a series of steps, because you never really want to get bogged down in thinking there's not just one solution to a problem. There's probably many solutions. So it's just understanding that. And and you get frustrated, but it's good to understand that through frustration, you can kind of get little breakthroughs and have like aha moments. So that's pretty fun to go through that.
That's great to hear you say that, because those are the things we keep trying to reiterate with our students, is that sometimes frustration is what you need in order to progress and drive forward. Also, there are several other great questions on the side here. Thanks, you guys, for asking all of these. What classes did you have to take to get architecture expertise?
So my program that I went through is an accredited program that, and that's a big thing to understand when you're looking into going into architecture, that there are colleges that have architecture programs, but then some that might have environmental design or some beginner classes. That Kansas State that I went to had the College of Architecture. So it was a very established long-term program that, graduates very talented architects. But that was an accredited 5-year bachelor's. Now it's actually a 5-year master's. So understanding where to start, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of skipping around this, but understanding the programs that are probably the best. Understanding the programs that are out there is probably the best step you can take of wanting to become an architect. So with that is there's studio, which is the majority, like the bread and butter of your college experience. And so studio is a design studio where you work on design problems from set periods of time, being 2 weeks, a month, a whole year, depending on the complexity of the project, which could be a house, a bus stop, a piece of furniture. It's just being able to get the architecture student able to think quickly, produce solutions, and be able to present them. And depending on the project, like go through the complexity of iterations. So there's a schematic design, which is like the initial idea, design development, furthering that design, and then getting into construction documents that are what the architect uses to communicate with builders. And then once it's in construction administration, that's when it's actually being built, and the architect helps facilitate that work. So studio is like your core, and then you have classes like structures, building systems, so understanding electrical, mechanical, lighting, let's see, like interior design, building materiality, so understanding how 3 bricks stacked on top of each other equals 8 inches, and those material kind of understandings. And those are all in relation with each other of how you, where the mechanical equipment goes, where the structure goes. Within this program I'm doing, I'll actually show you a ground floor. So, you know, this is a locker room and a weight room, but you can see there's a lot of different things going on. So there's the structural grid, there's the spacing of the windows, there's, you know, a column that sits right by a wall. So there's a beam on top of that, all these parts and pieces. And then, you know, right next to the existing building, there's a lot of things going on that, you know, you have to understand. And those courses in architecture school, you kind of know how those relationships work, that where by the time you're a licensed architect like myself, you have an understanding of them. And then there's other fun things that you get to do, like we got to take like speech. So that was fun because architects have to be able to talk and communicate with people. I took a lot of sculpture and painting and figure drawing. So a lot of fun non-building related courses to keep me creative. So yeah, there's the architecture program really sets you up with milestones and requirements that you have to meet to be able to go through that College of Architecture process. And other schools have similar ones as well.
Awesome advice. Thanks for that information. And we have about 7 minutes left. So I will ask something that several students had asked earlier. Do you have any advice for anyone who has future aspirations of an architect?
I think don't be limited to just thinking about architecture. Think about your own hobbies and influences and how those translates into being creative, and those help broaden you as an individual. So, and you can take those strengths into how you design. I got like, you know, I have like sketchbooks everywhere right here. I have a Ferrari flag, so I'm really into like car culture and art. I really like being inspired by beautiful things and how those things were created. So I think you always want to be a well-rounded kind of person that you can bring your strengths to your projects and your team. That's another thing too. Like you want to be communicative and be a team player, because a lot of the projects I work on are not just me. I have engineers, owners, building officials, contractors, tradesmen, younger architects that I have to help with that have recently been out of school that need to learn. So understanding how everybody kind of works together helps. So the more you can be personable and communicative and understand other people's thought processes, the more you kind of click and make a project better. So hope that answered it.
I think you did a great job with that. Baja said that she is also very into art. I think that's common with a lot of our students who are into architecture, is they have a love for art. Let's see. There was another question. Owen wanted to know how long you had been an architect for, and Baja also wanted to know if you use Chief Architect.
Chief Architect, I hear, is a program that is similar to Revit. I think it might be a little simpler in function and might not have the full functionality. I was not aware they actually made that program until I was talking with Ms. Torres earlier this week, because I think when I was a student, Revit came out and they just like threw us at it as students. So it was kind of interesting to learn on the fly. So it's really nice now that my advice to college grads, and I do reviews for Kansas State and KU and a lot of the other architecture colleges, that it's good to get that mindset that, there's a profession that you need to know all the tools. So learning Revit and even this Chief Architect thing at a program at your guys' stage is good to get familiar with it. But it's only one tool in your toolbox. So I like making little models. So breaking up pieces of chipboard or paper, doing simple kind of geometry studies. I hand draw all the time. I have about 5 sketchbooks sitting around me right now. It's just, and painting, ink, charcoal, a lot of different medium to be able to express yourself is just I guess the computer is always going to be there and part of how we work, but there are a lot more creative and fun ways to kind of get your juices flowing, to figure out how to put an idea down before you have to be in the computer. So I would say that's some advice too. Don't think it has to be done in the computer. Like if you have a simple idea and you can draw it really quickly on a Post-it note and here's my idea, and then you can kind of get feedback. And before, like, the computer is always like that final thing that's right, but it's never really right. It's a communication tool. So
that's great advice. There's one, I think we have time for probably 2 more questions. And there was a question from earlier that we did not get to, so I'm going to pull that up. What was the biggest project you have worked on?
Oh man, let's see. I've done a lot of I've done some custom houses that were fun. I did a non-for-profit housing community when I was in Rhode Island. That was fun. I got to work in Chicago, and I did this project called Italy, Eat and Italy combined, and it was the second one in America. The first one was in New York, and I got to work on the second one in Chicago. So it was this like crazy Italian smorgasbord experience project where we merged 2 spaces of 2 different buildings and made this huge open experience for people to come and take a look at. Like, it's basically several different restaurants around a giant floor plan, like pasta, meat, seafood. There was a creative kitchen. There was a mozzarella laboratory. There was a brewery I got to design with it. There was a coffee bar. There was all these different things, and it was all about this like experience of Italian culture. It was really fun that we got to do it. It got built, and they had so many people when it opened trying to experience it. They actually had to close for a week because they ran out of stuff to stock the shelves with, and they actually had to figure out how to use the building and space to inform how people work more. So it was a pretty famous project in Chicago. So I was really happy to, I can't believe I was part of that. So especially walking around the city and people are talking about it, and it's like, I worked on that. So that was fun. So
I'm sure that would give you so much just to be proud of, and so much ownership in that. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Well, we just are so grateful that you joined us today, and all of you who are with us right now or who are going to be watching it later, thank you for tuning in. We can't thank you enough, James, for giving up your time to teach us today. And I think that the extra bonus was knowing that we got to learn a little bit about the future of our school district, even with some of the projects you shared.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm pretty excited with everything I'm working on for North Kansas City. It's there's a good architecture heritage, and I think the school district is, very excited to help move these properties forward with, how they expand and change. So it's great. it's a lot of fun.
Yes. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Have fun, everybody.